We begin tonight with a story you simply have to see to believe. One Nederland man is lucky to be alive after a work accident left him with a metal rod sticking through his head. Good evening, Southeast Texas. Michael Richard was on the roof of a home last week when he lost his footing and fell off. He landed on a piece of rebar that was sticking out from the ground. We have 12 News reporter James Grant here to share how Richard survived such a freak accident and who he's crediting for saving his life.
Cam, Michael Richard has painted for over 30 years. He said he had just started working again after a double hernia surgery. Now, after Wednesday's accident, he's going back into recovery. And before we show this story, a warning that some of the images are graphic.
Stuff like this doesn't happen very often and usually doesn't have a good outcome.
Michael Richard was painting on the first floor roof of a home Wednesday when he slipped and fell.
Next thing I know is I'm on the ground and I'm trying to stand up, and I can't stand up.
Richard fell on a piece of rebar, which impaled him in the neck and went through his head. Doctors say things could have been a lot worse.
It was just millimeters from hitting, the voice box, your spinal cord, your carotid arteries, there's so much stuff that could have gone wrong. It didn't even penetrate my skull.
Paramedic Ashley Thomason treated Richard on the way to the hospital.
We can train for this all day long. This is like almost 20 years for me, and I've never seen anything like this, and I probably never will again.
First responders used a bolt cutter to cut the rebar before loading Richard onto a stretcher. Thomason says in a situation like this, every second matters.
The biggest thing was keeping him calm, stabilizing his neck, and just getting him to the closest trauma center so they could take over from there. And that's what we did.
Richard was rushed to Chris's St. Elizabeth and went straight into surgery.
Within an hour, I'd say an hour and a half of the first sticking through my neck, I was out of surgery and in recovery.
Richard feels lucky to be alive and says his injury gives him a new perspective on life.
Life's short, You need to tell people that you love them all the time, that you love them every day.
Such a great attitude to have, and while he recovers, Richard will be out of work for the next month. In the meantime, his family set up a GoFundMe if you'd like to help. We have the link to the GoFundMe on our website, 12newsnow.com. James Grant, 12 News.
Thank you, James. DPS troopers are investigating a Saturday night crash that left 2 people dead in Newton County. Troopers say it was a head-on collision on Highway 87 around 3 miles north of Burkeville. DPS says a Chevy pickup truck traveling south crossed into the oncoming northbound lane and hit a Ford pickup truck head-on. The driver of the Chevy was pronounced dead at a hospital. The passenger of the Ford was pronounced dead on scene by a justice of the peace, and the driver of the Ford was also taken to the hospital. They're being treated for their injuries. It was a scary Friday night for a store clerk working at the Everest Food Mart on East X Freeway. Around 11:30, she was attacked by a man trying to rob the store with a knife. That plan backfired, however, when the clerk pulled a gun and shot him multiple times. Beaumont police say they were still on their way to the injury when they heard that the suspect had been shot. 62-year-old William Coleman was arrested and charged with aggravated robbery. He remains at an area hospital being treated for those gunshot wounds. Beaumont police offered the reminder that what the clerk did in this situation was completely legal.
Essentially, we see the aggravated robberies often. In a lot of cases, what we don't see is we don't see a victim fight back and defend themselves. But, we want to make sure that people understand that they do have that right.
And once Coleman is released from the hospital, he'll be headed to the Jefferson County Jail where he awaits a $250,000 bond. Turning to the storm trackers now to get a look at your Sunday night forecast. Live view on our Roofing 911 Skycam network over Lake Charles. Clear skies out there tonight. We've got meteorologist Kerry Cooper in the Storm Tracker Center. We had some spotty showers today, Kerry. Hopefully that can carry over to this week.
Yeah, and I believe, Cam, it will, especially by Tuesday, Wednesday, the latter half of the week. Those rain chances going up a little bit, or at least getting back to normal, what we should see in the summer times. We hadn't had a normal summer this year for sure as far as rainfall goes. And outside now we have partly cloudy skies, temperatures running in the lower to mid 80s. Have 82 in Beaumont, 81 Jasper, 80 in Kirbyville, 80 in Port Arthur. And in the next 3 days, those rain chances are looking a little bit better. Now, I think we'll see fewer showers tomorrow, what we've had the last day or two, but still a couple out there. Up to 30% Tuesday and a 40% coverage by Wednesday. And those temperatures over the next 7 days at or just a tad above normal. We'll talk about that, look in the tropics, and the rest of your forecast coming up a little bit later.
The sentencing phase in the trial of Luis Torres will pick back up tomorrow morning. It took a jury less than an hour on Friday to find him guilty of intoxication manslaughter. Torres drove drunk and went the wrong way on Highway 69, causing him to crash head-on into a Beaumont police unit. That crash took the life of 23-year-old Beaumont police officer Sheena Yarbrough Powell. Tomorrow, the jury will be deciding his punishment. So far, they've heard emotional testimony from Sheena's family and friends, sharing about the moments they learned of her passing and what the last 2 years have been like without her. Those loved ones describing a person who loved life, was easy to talk to, and cared about her job and serving her community. Sheena's husband testified, telling the jury about Sheena being his only love. And on the other side, the defense tried swaying the jury for a shorter sentence, describing the person Torres was before the crash. They called on his high school administrator, who described Torres as an amazing student and a leader, saying he had a very bright future and was an intelligent young man. Beaumont police say they're just hoping the jury has a message with their sentence.
At least I hope that he understands the gravity of this. And that's the whole purpose, is that it's important for people to recognize that consequences come from their actions. Every single decision and choice that we make has a consequence, whether it's good or bad.
Torres faces anywhere from 5 to 99 years in prison. Again, that decision could be coming tomorrow. And in the meantime, if you'd like to read more about our wall-to-wall coverage of this trial, you can head to our website or to the 12 News Now app. Tomorrow, Uvalde's Consolidated School District will hold its regularly scheduled board meeting. It's set to start at 6:30 in the evening, and the fourth item on the agenda is considering an approval to build a new elementary school. It also has an item to send a resolution to Governor Abbott, hoping to adjust the school calendar to allow for a later start in the year. However, not on the agenda is a discussion to terminate Uvalde School District Police Chief Pete Arredondo. He's heavily criticized for his response to the Robb Elementary shooting. That meeting was originally set for Saturday morning, but was canceled at the request of Arredondo's attorney. As of now, Arredondo remains on unpaid administrative leave. Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick has tested positive for COVID-19. His campaign shared the news in a statement, saying he tested positive yesterday. They say he has mild symptoms and is going to be working from home this week. The Lieutenant Governor also had a mild case of COVID about 8 months ago. His campaign says he's fully vaccinated and even had a booster in the fall. Meanwhile, President Biden's COVID symptoms continued to improve significantly. In a written update today, his doctors said his predominant symptom now is a sore throat, adding that the president's runny nose, body aches, and cough have diminished significantly. Big developments this weekend on monkeypox. The World Health Organization has now declared the latest outbreak a global emergency. The designation puts monkeypox in a category with COVID-19, Zika virus, H1N1, polio, and Ebola. According to the CDC, 16,000 cases have been reported globally in over 75 countries. The United States has more than 2,500 cases since May.
In addition to the increase in the number of cases is the concern that this is going to go beyond the current social network of high-risk individuals, and that we're going to start looking at this to become generalized across the population.
The Department of Health and Human Services says 2.5 million doses of a monkeypox vaccine are set to arrive in the United States over the next year.